When you think about the series, do you categorise them as 3 separate movies or as one entire journey?
It is really one journey in my head, and even though we dotted around, but having seen the final piece of the jigsaw, it does stand alone in a way, although it helps that you've seen the other 2 to understand where Thorin's got to. Otherwise, you're straight in at the deep end with a crazy person, and seeing who he was at the beginning to who he is at the end is very fulfilling, I think.
So people should see the first 2 before this one?
I think so. I think it would help.
And then this one multiple times?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to sit through my 3rd viewing of it because there's just so much to look at in this final film. But as we spoke about, Peter gets straight in there with the action. So if you haven't seen the other 2, you might be playing catch up a little bit.
Yeah, like who's that? Why is there a dragon?
Yeah.
What's going on? Does it feel like an appropriate end to the series, this one?
I think so, yeah. I mean, he's been as faithful to the book as he will allow, and he's expanded on the book, and he's investigated all the avenues that Tolkien invited but never trod himself. So, but I do think it's a great finale to 15 years of spectacular work, and the finished movie, the digital work that has gone into the post-production process is like nothing I've seen before.
He seems to keep bettering himself with every movie.
He does, and you sit inside in the cinema and you realise what Peter Jackson is all about, and it's about having people come together for a collective experience that they can't get anywhere else. You can't see this on your iPad in the same way. It just it doesn't make your heart beat faster.
And that's getting rarer these days. The shared experience. It
is, and it's it was the nicest thing to sit in a house full of people and hear them gasping and sobbing at the same time. It rarely happens.
And with all the fantastical story, you need to ground it in emotion. When it comes down to it, it seems like the film's about greed and good versus evil, and then love as well.
It is. I mean, they're pretty big themes, aren't they? And I don't think that's Peter, Fran and Philip are extracting something or adding something that's not there. I think Tolkien was absolutely writing about all of those things. He's writing about loss. He's writing about his experiences in the First and Second World Wars. He's writing about his desire to go home. He's writing about the idea of a single, simple man changing the course of big events. So lots of themes to talk about.
Do you think that's why it crosses so many generations? Because there's some young kids there last night who definitely weren't around for Lord of the Rings.
I do, and I think it crosses generations, and it also crosses culture. It's been translated into so many languages, and so many cultures will interpret this in different ways, probably. But there is something essentially European about it, and the sources that Tolkien drew from were Scandinavian and English folklore. So, but yeah, I think it's one of those books that we read as kids and we hand it down to our own children.
And Thorin in this one becomes a little bit obsessed with gold.
He does.
Just a little bit. What were you thinking about when you were filming that? Was there something tangible you related that to?
I did delve into some research on addictions and drug addiction and schizophrenia. I was just interested in what a disease of the mind and how that might affect the body and the rationale, and tried to make him as inconsistent as possible. But at the same time, it's a fantasy film. It's not it's not a film about that illness. But yeah, all of those things were in my head, and it was interesting to see the abstract manifestation of that when Peter has Thorin kind of literally consumed in the gold. I understood that was sort of the outside. That's his mind outside of his body, and seeing him come back from that was very fulfilling.
Obviously, you've got such a great character, but if there was one character in the film you could play just for a day to see what it was like, who would you want to choose? I'd go Galadriel just because I want to be Cate Blanchett at all times.
I wouldn't mind having a just being inside Gandalf's shoes for a day. I just think there's something so kind of steady and easy about that man, and it's one of my favourite moments in the movie. 2 moments actually, where Gandalf doesn't say anything, but he just looks at Bilbo, and he tells so much story with his face and speaks so loudly with nothing to say, and I think that's a real gift of Ian's.
Yeah, he's got that way about him. He's so nice too. Being so far away from everything, shooting in New Zealand, did it feel like a family?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that Peter does. He brings you into his family and welcomes you in. And, but equally, in the process of working, they get to know you as people because it helps them to craft the character that is tailor-made for you. So they know how to move the actor inside. There were so many moments. I mean, the final exchange between Bilbo and Thorin is very much crafted around how, the journey that both Martin and I had been on, as well as the characters. And that happens because they get to know you.
Australians and New Zealanders, we're like brothers and sisters. We make fun of each other, but we're good mates. What's something that you miss about New Zealand or the people?
I miss my fried breakfast at the Marinui Cafe on the surf beach in Lyall Bay, where I lived in Wellington. I miss that every morning. That was a morning ritual, and very, very cool people in there.
And they've really embraced the whole series, haven't they?
They have, and when Peter goes to work, so much of the community goes to work with him, and so many people that worked on Lord of the Rings, their kids ended up working on The Hobbit, and it's such a great thing to generate that kind of industry in your hometown and in your home country. And I know that these films have done such great things for the New Zealand economy, and they should be really proud of what they've achieved.
It might be too soon to say what the legacy of the whole series will be, but for you personally, what has being in this series meant to you?
It's kind of something that happened in the middle of my life. It's been a dream come true. I was a huge fan of the books, from reading The Hobbit at 7 years old to being a huge fan of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. So yeah, and hopefully I'll get to go visit Peter in a more social capacity and just have a little holiday with them and say, look at the great work we did.
Can we end with a dwarf hug?
We can.
Yay!
Hey, I'll have to headbutt you though.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC movie talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.